Thank you, Dr. Maya. Thank you so much. What a beautiful service. So far, it's been wonderful. Can you see the screen now? Has it been fixed? Excuse me?
Yeah, there you go. Got it.
Do you see the Zoom? Okay, wonderful. All right, so we've got everything lit. We have many candles around the sanctuary this morning and also outside. It's raining. And I'd like us to do a more of a meditation on the daily word today, which was pray for others. And with that, it's such a special thought and very meaningful, along with the verse that we heard. So let's go ahead and start out with a meditation of just really sinking into our bodies and really being present in the present moment. Okay, and everybody there on Zoom is just really sinking into who you are in your body. And put your feet on the ground and relax your hands on your lap and just breathe in deeply and exhale loudly. Just releasing any stress or anything that maybe you were carrying throughout the week that might not allow you to be so present here at this moment. As we meditate on the thought of praying for others, we can hold that space within ourselves, knowing there are many loved ones that we care about that we don't see. And we can breathe that in and just remember the prayers that we have for them and sending out love and light surrounding them. And in this meditation, this dedication of praying for others, we can just say softly to yourself the names of people who are in your heart today that you carry prayers for. Maybe someone that might be having health issues, or someone who's close to your heart that's not physically close, or our ancestors or loved ones who are made their transition. Anyone we hold close to our heart. In this dedication of our loved ones, we get to celebrate their divine presence in our lives, the magnitude of how each of our loved ones have changed our lives and made us who we are today. Just honoring all of those in sickness and in health. Now we get to send blessings to those who aren't here with us today in the sanctuary joining us, and we see all the love and light surrounding all the members of the Community Center of Montreal. And we envision this community as interfaith, modern day mystic community, supporting one another in ministry, supporting one another in community and fellowship, understanding each other's path as a spiritual one. Honoring that and recognizing that sometimes when we take the spiritual path, it may not be so easy. And we get to celebrate the wholeness in that today. Just a quick prayer to come out of meditation. Dear God, thank you for blessing the sanctuary. Thank you for blessing all the people here in it and online and part of the service today. Blessing and healing all our loved ones that may have any physical ailments, limitations, struggles. Anyone near or far. We're grateful for this opportunity to work with you, God, in your healing presence, to know you more, to feel you within and around us as the all presence and power in our lives today and every day. And giving us this moment and this time on this Sunday morning to celebrate and know you more, and the opportunity to connect with you more, God. We are so grateful. And in this time, just relax your bodies and come back into the space when you're ready. Might take a minute. Just breathe. Stay in your bodies. In acknowledgement of our loved ones and praying for our loved ones, it's important that we also have a warm embrace of remembering us on our journey as well, and praying for all aspects of ourselves. As we were able to blanket our loved ones with prayers and thoughts, and surrounding with love and light and perfect healing, we get the opportunity to feel that presence within us as well. I don't know if any of you feel that energy right here today, but so when we pray, sometimes we want to pray for something that might benefit us. But remember that in God's presence, that running the show, God running the show, it's really good to pray for our best and highest good. And it may not look like it. But when we acknowledge that real life is happening right now, God is here and is around us every day in the true essence of who we are. So with that prayer and acknowledgement, I wanted to just bring in what we spoke about on Wednesday night's class, because that brings in the information about the lesson today. Wednesday, we started a series called Finding Peace Through Chaos. Okay, so that's going to be the series for the next 4 weeks. And finding peace through chaos. It's nice, huh? So there is a process to it. And I have found that our unity principles just fit wonderfully in this process. And so the first unity principle, I think everybody in unity knows, is God is. God is omnipotent. God is here. God is everywhere. And there's nowhere God isn't. And so with that first unity principle, Wednesday night, we got to look at acknowledging our all parts of ourselves, maybe parts of ourselves we didn't want to look at. Was like, oh, that's a little uncomfortable. That's a little bit of who I am, really? Okay. So we looked at our powerlessness as a human being. We looked at our barriers and chaos in our own lives and what that is on Wednesday night. Most of you guys were there. So if you remember, we really went we took a deep dive. When we say the word ease, the opposite of ease is dis-ease. When we say the word order, the opposite of order is disorder. So we got to look at all of that and what our perceptions are of ourselves and our powerlessness, something maybe we just can't control in our lives. And so, what is it you can't control? What is it that you feel powerlessness about? Yeah, that's not a real comfortable topic because we know God is. So that was our acknowledgement, because we had to start there in order to climb through this process of the unity principles and get to the peace. We do have to visit the discomfort, or the level of discomfort, on a spiritual journey. This is the acknowledgement. Yeah, but God, so we might say in unity, well, wait a minute, God is here and everywhere, right? Yeah, God is here and everywhere, even when our perception feels or sees that it's not. Maybe we think in our mind, wow, where's God? Where was God in this? And so that's where we get to be really solid in Unity Principle 1. God is present and active everywhere in my life. So with that, I am just really excited to move on to the second part we're going to talk about. This is a preview of what we're going to be doing in our class Wednesday night, and that is the acceptance of all that is. So why am I up here talking about change and transformation and how we can move through these processes? Well, I got to experience a lot of change in my life. And having 3 decades of study and practice in unity, and really seeing what is consistent in my life is that God is there, God is here. And the unity principles as a foundational belief system that I can always come back to, no matter what changes have occurred in my life or what transformations have occurred in my life. Because, you know, we could talk about how many times we've changed and what we've done and where we've gone and where, but most of the changes we have in life are uncontrollable. I could say I went through 4 recessions in my career. I changed my career 3 times, but I would say about half of that was within my control. And the other half of it was something that I got to experience for my growth. And how we overcome those uncontrollable experiences of where we go. That's when, what is it that I have something to hold on to? Because I'll tell you, in the time of the recessions, I was supporting my family, and I was leaning. I was leaning. I needed something to lean on. But you know, the unity principles gave me the foundation to know and remember God is here. So when we know that in our heart and in our soul, not just speaking it, inside us, that foundation that says, God is here. And when we know that, wow, that acceptance, that acknowledgement, okay, the first step is the acknowledgement, right? Of all parts of ourselves, even when we're struggling, God is here. God is here. Even when we feel powerless, God is here. You know, oftentimes we want to try to force a solution or get to the outcome faster than divine order, right? So that's when we get a little willful as human beings, and we like to push things maybe a little faster than the natural flow or the natural rhythmic order that we know exists with God. So let's look at that acceptance, accepting that sometimes we do get to lean on God. We get to. And that brings us to the second unity principle, which is about acceptance, and that is the I am. If God is good and God is everywhere, now I know that God is within me. So all of the experiences that I've had, even when I felt powerless, it's God within me, active and present in my life. So now that acceptance of, wow, God is here. and I get to own it. I get to own my own divinity. And that's when that powerlessness, we can actually turn it and transmute it into powerful child of God. When we remember we're all children of God, there is no lack. It's our perception. It might feel like it at the time, but we're all getting exactly what we need when we get it, when we, the lessons that we're supposed to go through when we go through. So when we look at the acceptance portion and the acceptance of who we are, wow, the unity of principles gives us a foundational practice to remember God is within us. So we're only going to look at unity principle 1 and 2, but God is number 1, and I am is unity principle number 2. So when we remember God is everywhere and active in my life, I can acknowledge that's the truth. I can lean on that in my times of feeling powerlessness. When we feel alone, now we go back to unity principle 1. God is here. We're never alone. So leaning during times of change or powerlessness, we get to lean on God and accept that we are. So how can we do that? When we look at acceptance, the I am, the God within us, we also surrender. It does take a little bit of surrendering. Well, wait a minute. I didn't know I was going to be here right now. Maybe you said that in your life at some point in time. Wow, I thought things might be different. Or maybe you saw a certain path and God took you on another one. And at that time, you might have floated in the river a little bit, the river of life. But, it's exactly where you're supposed to be. It's the here and the now. And so when we focus on that, and we really sometimes drift, I like to call that humanist the drift, right? The drift when we go into the past a little too much, or we go into the future a little too much. That's our drift. We get to come back to the foundational principles. God is and I am. And that holds me right here in the present of what's important. What's important? What really is it that I need to be doing or looking at? And so that takes practice. It takes practice. Well, I'll tell you what, I used to in my 20s, we were talking the other day, in my 20s, I used to have a plan. I had my whole life planned out. Yeah, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. We can have an idea and a dream, and we can always move to it. God brings you to your dream when you're supposed to see it. And your dream has always been there right in front of you. But we have to see, we see it from our present moment. And we don't really know that any change has occurred in our lives until years down the road. We can look back and say, wow, I did go through a transformation. I did go through a change, right? And it takes us by surprise sometimes because, that stillness of being in a place of discontent or powerlessness is uncomfortable. But we don't have to suffer and be there all the time. Okay. And that's our meditation too, is bringing back into our body and our breath and our presence that, gosh, today I woke up breathing. Wow. There's a purpose. So how do we get into acceptance? Accepting our wholeness is, remember this, wholeness is purpose. So I love that concept, and we're going to go on it. because this book here, The Eye of the Storm, we started to talk about, and some of you might have gotten this book from the class, but wholeness is our purpose. So when we say, okay, I'm going to accept my wholeness, that means I'm going to embrace all parts of myself, the parts even that I don't like, or the parts that maybe I told myself are not good enough, but they all parts of us have to come along with us. Our inner child, our shadow self, all of these, integrating all parts of ourself create the wholeness, and so living on purpose is that acceptance of our wholeness and embracing all that into the I am. And we got to go through that Wednesday night. We all got to actually come up with an affirmation for yourself, the I am presence on who you are. And one of the affirmations, I'm going to share mine. My affirmation is, I am a joyful, passionate, loving woman. And maybe that reminds you of all of you that came up with your affirmation for yourself. And you get to say it and speak it and be it in all situations. And that is solid. So we get to show up as our affirmation to ourselves. That's our foundation, the I am. So wholeness is a purpose. The entire universe supports you in being the Christ light, God in your world. Every challenge, every difficulty, every temptation is an opportunity to shift your attention and awareness to the question of, what is my purpose in this? Why is this situation in my life? Although it might feel turbulent or uncomfortable, we get to ask ourselves, why am I in this situation? What is my purpose? So every challenge, every difficulty, and every temptation asks us this question, who are we being? Who are we really? And we can go back to our unity principle 2, I am. So until we take complete ownership of our purpose to be of the Christ light with God, the Christ of our own world, we will not find inner peace or wholeness. We have to own it. We are divine. We're divine beings. We are the co-creators. So now I know we must be thinking. You don't feel worthy enough to consider yourself on the same level of Jesus? Maybe. You probably not on the same level of Jesus, but guess what? You're on the same journey, the spiritual journey, the journey of understanding and uncovering more of who you are. So you are in the process of awakening to God's idea of you. Remember, it's not who I think I am. It's who God sent me to be, sent us to be. And so the I am principle, unity principle number 2, goes right along with God is. So this is our spiritual job description. Our purpose for living, believe it or not, everyone has the same purpose. And that is to connect to the way of God, the life of God, and the truth of God. So when I say, and when we went into the wholeness of ourselves in the last Wednesday night, we talked about, whoops, did my mic go out? Okay, there it is. So believe it or not, everyone has the same purpose. This is why no one is against us. Maybe you thought there were enemies out there, or people were after you, or trying to get you, or trying to condemn you at some point in your life. But when we remember that God is and I am for all people, there are perceived enemies. No one's against us. Even when it looks like someone is our adversary, that person really isn't. This may not make sense now, but as we practice living in purpose, on purpose, you will see that someone's ill will has a way of transforming you and transforming into one of your greatest blessings. But we can't see it at that moment. But remember, all things work together as our greatest good, for our greatest good. So you are the way, the truth, and the life, and the light of God. This is what it means to be living in the Christ light. This is what it means to live from our wholeness of who we are. So maybe you think that in order to be whole or feel good about yourself, you have to recover from an illness or an addiction or a failed relationship or lose 30 pounds or quit smoking or finish therapy or be forgiven by your children, when in fact, this has nothing to do with our wholeness. Our wholeness exists right now. Our wholeness is our worth, and we are grateful to be connected with that God presence. Oh, I want to dance now. Okay, so the wholeness is our worth, and we're grounded in the expression of God's presence. And the presence of God happens through you. The expression of God happens through you, through all of us. When we live in the life and the way and the truth of God. So am I good with time? So let's go with the way of God now. Say to yourself this affirmation: I am the way of God. I am the way of God. And you are the way of God. You are either the way of God or you're in the way of God. Which one is it? So that's another question we can look at. Am I the way of God or am I in the way of God? Your entire being is created to be an expression of God. Sometimes, however, we get in the way of God expressing through us. And it's important to know some of our greatest chaos or conflicts or enemies is ourselves, our own inner conflict, right? Where we can't decide. Who am I being? What is my purpose here? What is my purpose in that situation? So it's important to know the difference of God expressing through you or getting in the way of God. When you are in the way of God, here's a hint. Want to know? One of the hints. If you are judging, blaming, fearful, dishonest, unwilling, unforgiving, doubting, stubborn, unkind, or just plain negative, you're likely in the way of God. And that could be very hazardous to your health. So we look at that and we get to acknowledge that as part of us in the I am and the affirmation we chose for ourselves. It's a very simple affirmation. We go back to Unity Basics with Unity Principle 2 and say, I am. And think of 3 adjectives that best describe yourself. For those that weren't at the class, think of 3 adjectives that describe yourself and write them really big. Now, be kind to yourself in this, but your higher self. Visualize your higher self, your connectedness to the Christ light, and who you are and who you show up to be. And that I am affirmation is good today. We get to carry that with us as long as it resonates with us. Because, maybe 5 years down the road, there's something else that's going to resonate with you. Maybe 1 year, maybe 6 months. Because we do know change is inevitable. It will happen. So the life of God, another blessing to any challenge, comes as we bring the situation to the life of God. You are the vitality and energy of God. Yeah. You are. No futile storm can threaten the innocence of a new day. So what does it look like to be in the life of God? Well, let's just look at, this is a poem I'm going to share. It's a Tao Te Ching poem from Lao. It's from we had the Taoism religion that we lit a candle for. But under contemporary Confucius, this is from 500 BC. It says, men are born soft and supple. Plants are born tender and pliant. If plants are dead, they are brittle and dry. Whoever is stiff, inflexible, is a disciple of death. Whoever is soft and yielding is a disciple of life. Wow, that's powerful. Now, how many times are we so hard on ourselves or so inflexible that things are kind of like the leaf that's dried out on a plant? We can take it and it just breaks and brittles, right? So this was really important because it compared people to plants and how sensitive and soft and being kind to ourselves really brings us down into our heart space of our true being, of our God self. Because we can stay up in our head and we can try to make logic of all these things happening. And, you know, a lot of things don't have logic to them when you're on the spiritual path. There's a knowing and a trusting of our higher power, of our God self and our intuition and timing. So you are the life of God when you create a childlike, youthful atmosphere and stay soft and supple, tender and pliant. How the situation looks or feels remind you as a child, in your inner child we all carry with us, there are infinite possibilities, infinite. And if someone gets upset as a kid, what do? We help them look on the bright side. So when we go back to the daily word, it was really timely with today's lesson of the purpose. Living in our wholeness is our purpose. And to be in our wholeness, we get to live a life of purpose. And that is the way of God, the life of God, and the truth of God. So with that, I could keep talking all afternoon, but we do have some wonderful, wonderful music that's next. But with that, I'm going to end. Oh, we're going to go into our donation. Is it something you play the piano or no, the offertory? So I hope you all enjoyed the lesson today or the talk today. And there's more. We're going to have a class Wednesday night where we're going to dive deeper into the subject of acceptance of our wholeness and embracing all parts of ourselves in this I am presence. So that's Wednesday at 5. And Kate, did you have a quick announcement about the next
Give.
Okay.
Give, it's another name for give it.
Gebet.
Gebet. Okay, so gebet, twice, les deux fois les mêmes lettres, et pourtant une signification différente en allemand. Une veut dire prière et l'autre donner. Dois-je d'abord m'ouvrir à l'unique, devenir un, pour que la prière puisse entrer dans le divin et être accomplie? C'est une bonne question qui mérite d'être examinée sous tous les angles. Les mots sont-ils justes? Expriment-ils exactement ce que je veux réaliser? L'expression précise du souhait est importante. Si je veux recevoir une pomme avec gratitude, ma prière doit aussi représenter une pomme au sens figuré. Sinon, je risque de recevoir tout à coup quelque chose d'autre. Dans la prière, je remercie pour tous les dons que je reçois sans cesse. Hier était un jour important. Le jour où nous avons honoré la terre-mère et où nous avons exprimé notre gratitude. Chère Mère Terre, je te remercie pour ta fertilité. Je te remercie pour les fleurs magnifiques et délicieusement parfumées. Je te remercie pour les légumes délicieusement savoureux. Je te remercie pour les arbres qui font de l'ombre. Je te remercie pour les eaux jaillissantes. Et je te remercie pour les paysages magnifiques. Il y a encore beaucoup d'autres choses pour lesquelles on pourrait remercier la terre-mère, la mère-terre. Toutes ces beautés qui nous entourent et dont on fait partie. Et aujourd'hui, je dis oui à la vie. Je dis oui avec joie à mon être tel qu'il est. Comme disait tout à l'heure la magnifique Laurie, tel qu'on est ici maintenant. Je dis oui avec joie à mes vocations. Et je dis oui avec joie à tout ce qui entre dans ma vie. Le oui et la gratitude sont frères et sœurs. Lorsque je dis oui à quelque chose, cela ne signifie pas que je dois être d'accord. Mais si je fais face ouvertement à des désaccords, il me montre ce que je peux changer ou maîtriser. Je m'aime bien. J'aime mon travail. J'aime mes relations. Je suis reconnaissant d'être un membre de la famille humaine et divine. Je remercie tous mes enseignants. Nous sommes tous professeurs et élèves en même temps. Et merci beaucoup à Anne-Marie,
Merci, merci.
l'autrice en fait des pensées du jour que je viens de partager avec vous et qui est toujours fidèle au rendez-vous pour nous envoyer ce magnifique texte très inspirant. Merci. Merci beaucoup,
Merci.
Anne-Marie. Merci à vous tous pour l'écoute. Et maintenant, on peut dire le Notre Père ensemble. Vous avez ça en arrière du livre des hymnes ou bien vous la connaissez déjà, la prière. Notre Père,
qui est aux cieux,
que ton nom soit sanctifié, que ton règne vienne, que ta volonté soit faite sur la terre comme au ciel. Donne-nous aujourd'hui notre pain de ce jour. Pardonne-nous nos offenses, comme nous pardonnons à ceux qui nous ont offensés. Et ne nous laisse pas entrer en tentation, mais délivre-nous du mal, car c'est à toi qu'appartiennent dans tous les siècles le règne, la puissance et la gloire. Ainsi soit-il. Et avant de se laisser, nous allons penser, dire et ressentir la prière pour la protection ensemble. La lumière de Dieu nous entoure. L'amour de Dieu nous enveloppe. La puissance de Dieu nous protège. La présence de Dieu veille sur nous. Où que nous soyons, Dieu est là. Et tout est dans l'ordre divin. God is here. Dieu est là. Avec nous, où que nous soyons. Merci beaucoup. Bonne journée à tous.
bonne journée, bon dimanche, à la
Bonne journée. Merci.